good afternoon. I'm in Aberdeen with Cynon Valley Assembly member Vikki Howells, and good afternoon to you,
Hi,
Vikki.
Brad.
Thanks for joining us today. So it's been 3 years now since you were elected to represent the people of the Cynon Valley as a Welsh Labour Assembly member. What would you say your greatest achievement has been in your time in office?
I think that the biggest thing that I would say is that as a new political face, I feel that people have really got to know me now and know who I am because I use social media a lot to show my presence, which has been something that other politicians locally up till now haven't really done. So having the Facebook page and the Twitter account means that I can always keep people up to date with what I'm doing, and I've got a really good feedback from the public about that. And I think the office in Aberdeen Town Centre is a big part of that as well. So people know that I'm here, that they can come to me with any issues and problems. And I feel really strongly that being a visible representative at the heart of the community like that is really what people expect of a politician these days. And I do take some pride in the fact that I think I am the first politician serving the Cynon Valley that's been able to achieve all of that.
What are you most proud of, and what has been the biggest disappointment?
Well, that's what I've been most proud of, really, is the visibleness that I've managed to achieve. I think also despite the fact that we don't get local coverage as we have done in the past with the Cynon Valley leader, for example. So to be able to convey my message to ordinary people and to show them what I'm doing on their behalf has been a struggle, but using those methods has really paid off. My biggest disappointment as the AM for Cynon Valley has been the way that the South Wales Metro has evolved into being just about trains. Now, I'm a huge supporter of the Metro in what it is promising to deliver with trains to revolutionise our public transport network, but at its inception, it was supposed to be an integrated transport system that would link trains with buses. And really, I'm very disappointed that the bus component of the Metro has fallen by the wayside. There's now only one bus route that's within that, and that's in Newport. And as far as I'm concerned, for communities that are based in valleys like our own, the train doesn't serve the vast majority of the population unless you can actually get down to the valley floor. And for public transport to really serve everybody effectively, you need a proper bus system that links with the trains to take people where they want to go. And I'm very disappointed that hasn't been achieved as part of the Metro. I get loads of complaints from people about the bus service, the fact that it is privatised, and there's no way that we can really influence and shape bus provision is something that's a great source of frustration to myself and to ordinary people. So I'd love to see the bus industry nationalised and us to be able to do a lot more with that.
Okay. Why did you want to represent the Cynon Valley, and what makes your constituency special?
Well, I've been interested in politics for a very long time. Since I was 17 is when I joined the Labour Party. So it was always a huge aspiration of mine to maybe one day be fortunate enough to represent the area where I was born, brought up and lived. And to have the opportunity to do that when Christine Chapman stood down was just a dream come true for me, and is something that I'm still really, really enjoying now.
Great stuff. You're saying a lot has changed since you were elected 3 years ago now. And we have a new First Minister of Wales and a new team of ministers and cabinet members at the Senedd. What do you think of Mark Drakeford and his team?
I think Mark's doing a really good job under very difficult circumstances with the backdrop of Brexit. He settled very quickly into the role, but that's to be expected of a man like Mark, who has so many years experience both behind the scenes and as a cabinet minister as well. He's put together a really dynamic team which is gender balanced and reflects both expertise of long-standing AMs and some of the new ones as well.
Okay. 2019 marks the 20th anniversary of devolution here in Wales. We heard your colleague Anne Cloyd, the MP for Cynon Valley, say that she thinks devolution in Wales was a mistake. Do you agree with Anne Cloyd?
Look, there's lots of things that I agree with Anne on, but this is definitely not one of them. I'm really proud of the things that we've achieved in Wales since the advent of devolution, and if we just look at two key measures compared to the rest of the UK, unemployment in Wales is lower than in England, which I think is an amazing achievement when you consider the deindustrialisation that we've had in Wales over the last 30 or so years, with the closure of the coal mines, etc. There's no doubt about it, that has been achieved through interventions that have been put in place by the Welsh Government to safeguard jobs like in Port Talbot at the steelworks, and to help people retrain when they have lost their jobs. There's been some fantastic work done around that. And if you look at education as well, we've got a situation in England now where the vast majority of schools are academies that are actually owned and operated and controlled by private companies. I simply couldn't countenance that in Wales, and there's no way that I would ever say that we'd be better off with that kind of system. Devolution has protected us from things like that.
Okay, since 2016 we've seen the rail franchise change over from Arriva Trains Wales to Transport for Wales. You said back in March 2017 on BBC Radio Wales that transport links in the valleys are simply not up to scratch. Do you still stand by this?
Well, yes, I do, because change can't happen overnight. We've seen some improvements, like for example there's been more than a doubling of Sunday services to the Cynon Valley, which is something that I personally campaigned for and managed to get that deal from Arriva, which is now embedded in the Transport for Wales contract. But the sad fact is that making trains is a long and complex process, and depending on which model you order, it takes between 2 and 5 years. So we are going to take some time before we get the right quantity and the right quality of trains here in Wales, but I am very confident that we are on the right track and change is happening.
I was just going to move on to the are you confident that we will see a transformation in rail services in the Cynon Valley over the coming years, as promised by Transport for Wales? And the main problem here in the Cynon Valley is there are 2 trains every hour.
Yeah.
And the capacity is somewhat limited, and that's what customers want to see change.
Yeah.
And are you confident that that will change?
Yes, I am confident, and I've had all the timescales through about when we're going to get the new rolling stock. There should be 4 trains an hour by 2023 of brand new rolling stock, and the pacer trains that everybody really detests now should be off the line by the end of this year, with some sort of interim replacement stock before the fully new stock in 2023.
Okay, thank you. In 2018 you welcomed the Welsh Government's decision to tackle period poverty. In March this year it was announced by Health Secretary for Wales, Rhondda Cynon Taf, that all women will have access to free sanitary products in Welsh hospitals. Do you welcome this move?
Of course I welcome this move, but I think there's a bigger issue that we all need to be going back to, and that's the fact that we're living in the 21st century in a society where the government has to hand out sanitary products in a first world country, and we're living in a society where food banks are handing out more and more food parcels. If you told me when I was a child and I grew up reading the novels of Charles Dickens that this is where we would be in 2019, I would never ever have believed it. But this is where we're going back to. We're going back to a Dickensian era because of the impact of Tory-led austerity from Westminster. There's just no need for it, and I think it's a great shame that we are in this situation as a society.
Okay. Some people would say that Aberdeen has been forgotten about in terms of council investment over the last couple of years in terms of the town centre. What would you say, to those concerns?
I think Aberdeen has benefited from lots of investment from a range of different sources. So the Library Square, for example, £7 million was spent there creating a really great public space, and we see a nice cafe culture developing there as well. And also there have been a number of renovation projects taking large buildings like the former Palladium site, the former Boot Hotel as well, and dividing those up so that you've got retail on the ground floor and apartments on the upper stories, and the Boot Hotel is just set to come to fruition over the next couple of weeks. So there have been some really good flagship projects. But what I would say is that it's always really difficult for local authorities because you have to deal with private landowners who own these sites, and it's all about trying to negotiate with them in order to get them developed. Aberdeen, more than other local towns, actually has a lot of absentee landlords who live outside of the community, who haven't really got a vested interest in maintaining those sites and looking after them properly. So it is perhaps more difficult than it has been in areas like Pontypridd, where the council has been able to negotiate successfully with landowners there to buy up areas of land and to develop them. But I know they are still looking to negotiate with landowners on a range of sites in Aberdeen, and I'll be doing all I can to support them with that.
Okay. Fly tipping is a major issue in our valley. As you may know, I'm carrying out special coverage of it all this month. What's being done from a Welsh Government perspective to tackle the problem?
Well, fly tipping is an awful blight on our communities. We live in a very beautiful area, and there's just no excuse for it. You know, it's so easy to dispose of your waste in the appropriate manner. So a lot of Welsh Government resources have been devoted to that, to educating residents about how they can recycle, where they can dispose of things in an appropriate way, but also some new measures have been introduced recently to enable councils to increase the fines that they can dish out to these fly tippers.
Okay, Vikki Howells, thank you very much indeed. And that is it from Aberdeen. Thanks for joining me and Vikki. We'll see you soon.